This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Brueski, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
Alec Murdaugh, you thought this case was over? Well, we might get a replay. The fight to overturn his murder convictions is officially underway in the South Carolina Supreme Court. The Attorney General's office filed its opening brief in August, arguing Murdaugh is obviously guilty based on overwhelming evidence. On September 9th, Murdaugh's defense team, led by Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin, remember those guys, submitted their reply, calling the case a perfect storm of investigative failures, fabricated forensic claims, and jury tampering by former Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill. We'll get into all of that in just a bit, because there are some points they have to make there, especially about Becky Hill. With both sides' briefs now on file, the process moves to the next stage. You know, everybody's just sitting there going, well, is he going to get a new trial or not? It's like 50 steps in between that. And the train keeps moving down those rails. This is where we're at right now. The process, the next steps, moving to this next stage. Within the next 30 days, Murdaugh's attorneys now must compile the official record of appeal. What is that? That's the complete collection of trial transcripts, exhibits, rulings that will form the factual foundation for the Supreme Court's review. That's why everything is documented in a court case. That's why there's certain procedures to have information put on the record, because when the Supreme Court, if they have to go review something, they're not going back to the tape. They're not going to go watch the coverage. They're not going to go watch pundits talk about it. They're going to watch exactly what was admitted in that courtroom and exactly what those jurors saw and did not see. That's how they will make their decision. After that, each side will then, it's like a game show, will have 20 days to submit their final briefs. Then John Davidson will come out and will play a great game show, and we'll decide whether Alec Murdaugh gets a new trial. I actually looked up John last night because I'm friends with his son, who's also named John Davidson. And I was like, wonder what John Davidson's up to these days.
He's like still singing and stuff, right?
He does, yeah. And his son, JD, is is known as the VIP coach, and he was a client of mine years ago. We became friends. I haven't talked to him in forever, but very motivational guy. Anyway, only then will this case be considered ripe, meaning the justices can either schedule oral arguments or decide the matter based solely on the filings. It's unclear whether the High Court will hear the arguments, but a decision is unlikely before late 25 or maybe even 2026. At stake is whether Alec Murdaugh remains a convicted double murderer serving life, or whether South Carolina's most notorious trial gets reopened. And that's what we're going to discuss today. Plus, by the way, there's a new Alec Murdaugh movie coming out, and we'll watch the trailer for that on Hulu. Murdaugh, Death in the Family is what that is called. So we'll get to that. And also next hour, Eric Fatt is going to join us, and we'll be discussing the latest in the Adelson case, her appeal, Donna's appeal, and then what's likely down the road for Wendy from a prosecuting standpoint and a defense standpoint. So all that is on the way for you today. Starting out here with Alec Murdaugh, though. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one for a lot of people, because when you look at the case on the surface, it looks pretty damning. It's pretty easy to look at Alec Murdaugh and go, you're a pretty shitty human being, just on the financial crimes alone, which were a huge part of the murder case, which incidentally has nothing to do with murder necessarily, or does it? That's the big question. But then you have the Becky Hill problems, the clerk of court who intervened in her own way. And we'll talk about all of that as well. But in case maybe you're new to the Murdaugh saga and you're going, what is this all about? I think we should watch the trailer for the new Hulu docuseries, or not a docuseries, this is a drama series. Kind of gives you a little 2.5-minute recap of everything that's happened in this saga that will end up taking 4 or 5 episodes. Let's take a watch.
This is Alec Murdaugh. I need police and an ambulance immediately.
Welcome back. Sometimes I feel like living a life I never was supposed to live.
Oh, sinner, you better get ready. Oh, you better get ready, hallelujah.
The Murdaughs are a South Carolina legal dynasty.
Y'all know me. I'm an honest man.
Oh, you cheating bastard.
It's only cheating if you get caught.
The times are coming when the sinner must.
What happened?
There's been an accident.
They find her?
One's still missing. You get these kids to keep their mouths shut, and the parents too.
How bad is this for us?
I'm working on a story. The Murdaughs have a history of trying to cover things up.
You happen to run into any of Mr. Alec's medication?
And you think he's taking it again?
What else is there that I don't know about?
We got to have each other's backs. Family first.
Get down on your knees and pray.
The Murdaughs tell you not to talk to me. They have connections all the way up to the governor. I think we've only scratched the surface of what's going on here.
Be careful. These are very, very powerful people.
State grand juries opening an investigation into a possible cover-up. Do you have any idea the damage you have done?
Somebody's out there hunting us.
Go to the mirror. Look at yourself. See what that man has to say. The one staring back from the glass.
I know you've been lying to me.
I'm the one that's got to do it, not you. Me.
These Murdaugh men, yeah, you have to sacrifice a lot of things to make them the men that you know that they can be.
You better get ready.
This here's to the Murdaughs. Long may we live.
Amen.
Wow.
Yeah, that's spooky.
I always find it interesting seeing the Disney logo pop up on all these horrible.
Right? It kind of goes against what we were raised with, doesn't it?
Like, can we get an Alec Murdaugh themed ride? Like, I think that would be fun. You drive around in the golf cart out to the kennels, and there's so many. Then you have to go over to your mom's house and check on her and have a big old blue tarp with. I mean, it'd be really. I think I would enjoy that more than some of the current Disney themed rides. Let's get rid of. I think it's time to dump. It's a Small World and go for the Alec Murdaugh themed ride.
But it's so legendary.
I hate that ride. That ride gives me nightmares.
Why? Because of the song?
It's too happy.
It's not.
It
dark.
is
It's not dark enough.
unnaturally happy of a song. Just like people who are too unnaturally positive or too unnaturally happy in life, they scare the shit out of me because it feels like there's something very wrong about them. Now, that could probably be my own disposition, but they kind of scare me. It's like,
Let me ask you guys this, because you've been involved with this case much longer than I have. I just came on the last couple of months. Is that an accurate portrayal of some of what went down, do you think? Or is it very dramatized?
I mean, it's somewhat dramatized, but there's nothing in there that stood out to me going, oh, that seems like it's over the top. I mean, granted, it's just the trailer. So we'll see how they execute in more of a long form. But I mean, I could see what they were kind of laying out here. Everything, there was the boating accident that his son was involved, Buster was involved with. That's portrayed in here. Even Mandy was one of the podcasters on this, Cup of Justice. Even she's portrayed in this. She was, I believe, part of the filming of this. So she's portrayed in it as someone who looked into it because she had a podcast that really dug very deep into this whole damn thing, exposed a lot of the darkness of the Murdaugh family. So yeah, your long answer is yes. I feel like it's fairly accurate for a trailer.
Can you imagine knowing a family like this?
Oh my gosh, they're creeping me out, every bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so.
But do you really know a family like this? If you know a family like this, or are you only seeing the surface? Because they were pretty good at projecting. He was pretty good at projecting. Everything's good. Everything's lovely over here until it wasn't.
But isn't Well, maybe I'm only speaking on my own experience, but aren't all families kind of like that when you step outside and you take a look back, you start seeing some things?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their secrets to a certain extent. You know, does it go all the way to mysterious? I mean, any family that has like a bunch of weird deaths surrounding them that they may somewhat be connected to or not is an odd thing. There's some, I forgot the stat. Robin has brought it up so many times on the show, but the amount of deaths that were the average person is going to be connected to, not in any sort of way of guilt of killing them, but to be around, connected to in a personal way, just even knowing somebody personally, is extremely low at a younger point in life. Obviously, when we get older, we're all going to kick it. So you got a lot more deaths then. But in a younger portion of life, before we're all super old, it's not a high number for the average individual. So to have all of these deaths and accusations of murder and death surrounding this family in such a compact period of time is very odd.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I feel like a lot of families have secrets. And not to this extent, but if you were to step outside of the family and then turn around and take a look back, you start seeing things. And is it just my experience, things I've dealt with recently, or is that just a common thing?
I don't think, I mean, everybody's different. I mean, you come from an interesting family. You do. I mean, I'd say you probably have a little more drama than most. If you were to look at the average, it's like everybody's all over the place. But if you were to like, here's the baseline, you're probably a bit more up here. Not all the way, like Murdaughs are up here. You're a slight deviation off the baseline a little bit. But you're not
a slight deviation.
Yeah, but you're not all the way, over there where, although, I mean, what I always find interesting is when you look back at family histories, and if you start digging just beyond like, if you have living aunts and uncles, just the most recently removed generation, dig back one behind that, dig another one behind that. And if the people are still around to answer questions, you'll find some real interesting shit. Because you may think like, oh, well, my aunts and uncles or my immediate family, the brothers and sisters of my parents, like there was weirdness there, cousins. Dig a generation back behind that. And you'll start to find more weirdness, but you'll also find a lot of weirdness that was socially acceptable to the time in which they lived. And I'm not necessarily talking about racism or things like that. And what I'm talking more so is about humanity in a lot of ways. What I always am shocked by is when somebody had any sort of like mental or physical disability, off to the hospital for you. And there they go for the rest of their lives. And then the family oftentimes pretend that they didn't exist. Like, oh, well, maybe we'll go see him here or there. You'll see that. You'll see all sorts of weird, well, is that your cousin or is that someone's sister? It's like, well, so-and-so had to do this or that, or they did this, or they got mixed up in that. So they were raised like this and this is that. And I mean, there's some of that, I think, in a lot of families where you're like, well, that's not technically your aunt, or that's not technically your cousin. It's this or that. And some of that, I mean, we see today, families helping each other out when, bad things happen and you need to help raise the next generation. But there's some real brutal shit. You go back just a little ways.
And it doesn't, I mean, what happened for me is I had my parents pass away. And so you start having conversations and you have to go through their stuff when they're gone. And all of a sudden little bits and pieces come out. Not all of it is dark. Some of it's very wonderful. But I mean, I learned some stuff in the last year about stuff on my mother's side that completely blew me away. I had no idea. And then you start adding things up and you're like, oh, so that's why she acted that way. Oh, so that's why we could never do that.
Yeah. The pieces start coming together. And it's kind of sad that we don't have that knowledge while they're here. Right. Why do we have to find out after the fact?
There was such a level of secrecy between parents and children for so long. And I don't know, like some ways, like maybe that was good. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that it was. I feel like with me and my daughter, I mean, she probably knows too much. but she's never going to look back at life and go, oh, I wish Dad never or like would have opened up more about this or that.
Right.
Like, I'd rather her be aware of anything I'm aware of with her family and our family and where she's from and who the people are. And I don't sugarcoat shit. I feel like families for so long, and I feel like that's also what enables families like the Murdaughs to keep going and going and going, because the previous generation just keeps sugarcoating the shit of the other generation. And then you grow up with this pride or this thought of your family that's really not based in reality.
Yeah.
And all you hear about is the positives over here, but it's never balanced with the negative. And not that the negative should always tear down the positive, but there should be a balance. There should be an understanding. Okay, here's how all this worked out. Not just here's this bullshit story that we want to tell because it makes us look good and makes us feel good about ourselves. Because a few generations in, that story is the fact, even if it's not the fact. And then other generations think, oh, that's the fact. But we're in a place now, too, where that's going to be impossible. You can't just BS this stuff and hope that history just washes it away. Everything's documented. So if you had any place on social media in your life, any generation of the last handful of years, there's going to be such a footprint of us that can be looked back upon if future generations want to find out more about their past. And to us, we're like, ooh, this is neat. I wish I knew that sort of stuff about my grandparents or this or that. To these future generations, we think, oh, they'll be able to look back on this. Honestly, I don't think they're going to give a shit. I think narcissism is rising to such a high level that the idea that you would care about someone other than yourself for so many people, that they're going to go look back and want to know why somebody did this or that. I mean, that doesn't matter half the time what the people in living life have going on around them that are with them right now, how that should influence their thoughts, their opinions. That just bounces off a wall for so many people because they're so dug into their belief system and what they feel and what they want to feel in that moment, that I don't know that there's going to be that level of curiosity and the level of information as well. I mean, we have little nuggets here and there now. If we want to look back on somebody, you go to Ancestry or whatever. Oh, there's little this or that. And you find little ones and go, oh my gosh. And you ponder it and this little bit of information. I wonder if it says so much about this person. Does it? I mean, it's just a little nugget of their life. When people look back on us, it's like, oh, by the way, you want to know more about me? Guess what? Here's, 10,000 hours of material. You decipher what's important out of that. I don't know that that's a realistic thought either for future generations.
Well, and good luck with that, really.
Yeah, exactly. What is meaningful, what is not. Anyway, the whole Murdaugh legacy, obviously it's gone on for many, many, many generations. There are still many prominent Murdaughs there. It just happened to be that Alec is the one that went down, but it went on for many, many years. So what exactly are we looking at here with Alec Murdaugh when we talk about this appeal process? Should there be an appeal granted for Alec Murdaugh? Before we get into the weeds on the clerk of court, what do you think, Stacey, as of this point?
Well, I would like to also point out with that Hulu movie that's coming out, what in the hell do we do about the pronunciation of this damn family?
It's Murdaugh.
They were saying like Murdoch.
Yeah, and Alec does too. Alec hits the K in there, Murdaugh. Alec Murdaugh.
Is it like a G, isn't it? Like Murdaugh?
Murdaugh.
And
Alec,
I've heard Murdaugh.
I'm Alec Murdaugh. I think it's a G. I think you're right. But it's Alec, even though it's spelled Alex.
The whole thing I get stuck. Forget the whole thing that happened. Like, how do you pronounce this? And that's the broadcaster in me. Like I always, if you hand me copy, I'm like, how do I pronounce this? What's this name? And if I hear it 4 different ways.
So you're saying if you had been a juror, you would have gotten hung up on the name and never.
100%.
You'd be like,
do not
okay,
want me on a jury.
We've just seen all this evidence. Stacey, what do you think? I'm about the name. Like, what about like the murder? What? I didn't pay attention to anything. I've just been trying to figure out the name here this whole time.
I'm not kidding. I am not the only one who has thought this. I guarantee it. Somebody was listening to that preview that we just did, and they're like, wait, I thought it was this.
Me. I just thought maybe I'll keep my mouth shut because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
No, well, I really don't care if sounds like I don't care or know what I'm talking about, because that's driving me nuts. I have not been able to think this entire segment because how the fuck is this name pronounced?
Murdaugh. Alec Murdaugh. There we go. Do we got that? Alec Murdaugh.
I don't think I can say that.
I'm going to go with the G.
Yeah,
and it's all spelled differently.
Okay, so I'm sorry. What was your question? Your Honor.
The question goes down to, do you think that there should be a retrial on this?
Yes, I do, because I think he is guilty as sin. But in this country, we do have due process. And I think he was denied due process because of Becky Hill. Mm-hmm. I think we need to do this over again and do it the right way. He will again be guilty because the evidence doesn't change. But the process by which we do it needs to be done appropriately, because if it's not, we're setting a very dangerous precedent. And it's our rules are the way we do life in this country. It matters. Mm-hmm. We have rules for a reason. We have speed limits for a reason. If you just decide, well, you can go 75 in a 25 and nobody prosecutes you, well, then the next person can do it.
Well, and this is a case that's not so much about the evidence of the case. It's about the procedure of the case.
Correct.
It's not, and that's what I think a lot of people get hung up like, well, he's guilty as sin. Well, is he? Because somebody was messing with the jurors.
But the evidence doesn't change, and the evidence really points to him, doesn't it?
That can be argued too.
Yeah.
If it was tried alone without the all of the financial charges, it's a much weaker case. The financial charges certainly made him look evil, which he probably is, or really an insane narcissist that has zero empathy for others, which if you go, well, if you have zero empathy, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from a disabled family whose, mother died as your maid, and maybe disabled is incorrect, so I apologize. I don't mean that, but you have a family over there that certainly needed the money, that were reliant on who was the housekeeper for the Murdaughs, who died on their property, tripping down the stairs, and then Alec takes the money and never gives it to them, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have that. You have all these other cases that he tried and won, and then he always set up these bizarre ways of getting the money, and it went to him and never to the people. So there's all sorts of evil that's going on there financially. Is that evil? Is it greed? Is it both? Yes. Does that make someone a murderer? No. And
it makes you a shitty person.
But does it make them capable of murder if they have such callous and lack of care for someone over here that they're able to basically just rob them of what would keep them alive or get them out of a really bad situation, or they're just deserving of it because of the trauma that they've gone through, and it's their money to have? Does that then show that, well, if you're that callous and capable of doing that, are you that callous and capable of killing your own wife and blowing your son's head off? Literally. That's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot to absorb, and I think at the end of the day, and this is just my impression, I think he's guilty. I think like I said, the evidence doesn't change, and a lot of it points to him.
I think he knows. I think he could have done it.
Yes.
I think he's connected. Did he pull the trigger? That's the question. It's a weird setup. I mean, could he have? Yeah. I mean, but again, we are supposedly a society of laws and a society that bases, evidence, that bases, conclusions on evidence. And there's some questions there. I'm in no way like saying Alec Murdaugh is innocent, but when you have the clerk of court lying under oath to a judge when asked if she allowed reporters to see sealed exhibits during the trial, when she goes to the jurors and tells them her own opinion, essentially, and cautions them on their ways of thinking based on her way of thinking during the actual trial itself, you got issues. And that's interfering in the, I mean, it would be, look, I mean, everybody likes sports analogies. I don't ever really make them, but if you had a ref in a game that was really throwing it, you'd be like, and you're on the opposing team, like, no, we need another game. And your team may have played wonderfully and lovely and should have totally won that game. They had some great plays that had nothing to do with the ref's calls.
Right.
But the ref did make some very seriously shitty calls based on their own allegiance to a specific team. And they wanted to write a book about it, too, which she did during the actual trial.
Which I don't understand how that was.
You're going to go back and say that game shouldn't count, no matter how good one team played. Because, yeah, I mean, had that call not made, that could have influenced this. It could have influenced that further down the line, because everything will affect what happens after it. So it's very difficult, and I would say logically impossible to say that Becky Hill's actions did not influence the jurors, especially when you have a juror that's saying it did. So it's not for Jean Toll, the judge, to say, well, that's not, what you're saying isn't true. It didn't affect you. Well, then why are you even asking the juror what the hell? If that's what you're going to say no matter what, then why the hell are you even asking the question?
Yeah.
Why are
the other thing that I'm curious about, and I live in a small, I'm going to say a small-ish town, not necessarily as small as their town, but small town justice, is it different than large city justice? And is that okay? You know, was this just something that seemed normal and okay for her because that's how they always do things there?
Is
Who
it
knows
okay?
How many other trials
is it okay, or is it how it works?
And that's another question that's important to ask. You know, I'm picturing Mayberry. So for those of you who might know that reference, is this just a small town where everybody knows Floyd the barber? You know?
Well, I don't think, I mean, I get exactly what you're saying. And I would say, you know, sometimes people think smaller towns are more dangerous for justice than like a larger city. And I would combat that with saying, look at Ellen Greenberg, Philadelphia.
Yeah, good point.
Corruption is corruption. You can have it anywhere.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a little easier to have in a smaller setting because there's fewer checks and balances. But you can certainly have it in a major city too. If there's corruption, there's corruption. If the right pieces are in the right spots on the pegboard to get where you want to go, you can get there.
Yeah.
If they're not, they're not. That's why we have checks and balances. So it's not just so easy to set things up the way you want to set them up. And unfortunately, we have, you know, people in this country that, you know, they'll play the long game and they'll put those pieces in place. So then when the action that no one saw coming happens, well, guess what? They can get away with it now because all the pieces that they've put into specific places that we all thought, well, that would stop this from ever happening, or this would stop that from ever happening. All those pieces got put into place while you're all looking the other way.
Yeah.
And now they can carry out their shit, and they already know how this game is going to go. They already rewrote the rules. And now, oh, well, this is how it is. What do you mean? We're following the rules. This is how the system works. And yeah, kind of is.
I think the thing about a small town, though, and I just want to throw this out there, is that because everybody kind of knows everybody's business, everybody's a little afraid for other people to know their business. Mm-hmm. So they keep stuff under wraps as best they can. But if they find something out, a lot of times they keep that under wraps, too, because, listen, I don't want to know about what's going on over here because I don't want them to know about what I've got going on over here.
Sure.
And I think small towns are scarier than bigger towns only because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we don't even realize.
I'd agree. I would agree. I mean, and if you want to know what's going on, go talk to the butcher at the local Piggly Wiggly.
The butcher seems to know everything.
They'll tell you everything. They know everything. No, but then you'll get, and rumors are more rampant sometimes in small towns too. I mean, it's just there's so many pieces at play. But yeah, I would agree. there's a lot of small towns. And I was actually just watching a video this morning. I got in a rabbit hole when I was working on the show of, because I like abandoned stuff. So one of that came up was abandoned Kansas towns. And I've driven through many of them. And it's weird because it's like, oh, well, this place had like 30, 40, like 3,000, 4,000 people in the 50s, 60s. And now there's like 20 people left, and yet the infrastructure, like the buildings are there, and it's all falling apart, and the infrastructure is gone. I'd feel a lot more paranoid trying to walk around one of those towns taking pictures, because I've always wanted to do that. I'd feel like I would get shot there more readily than I would in sometimes in inner city. Why are you here? Why are you? What are you doing? What are you doing in this town? Where you ain't from these parts, are you? So there's that secrecy, that fear. I mean, everything comes down to just being fear-based, but that's it's an interesting thing to think about between the sizes of city, but I don't know that at the end of the day, has a lot to do with just corruption and whether small town, large city, medium city, whatever, it's the tolerance of the town to accept the corruption and live with it versus push against it. And unfortunately, the reality is a lot of people will just go with it if it doesn't affect them directly.
Yep. But that's in life in general.
That's life in general.
That's the way we are. Yep.
And that, unfortunately, it plays out in ways like this. That's how you get communities like this. At the end of the day, it all comes down to whether Alec Murdaugh did this or not. And one of the most, I think, telling things in any case is taking a look at their first statements, their first words. What were they acting like immediately after the crime when people are trying to figure out what the heck is going on? And luckily, we do have that in this case. Alec Murdaugh, after the authorities arrived, after he called 911 and said that, my family's here dead in the backyard, in the dog kennel, the police came and he sat with them in the cruiser, answering questions. We're going to watch that video right now. We can pause it as we go through. But I would say take a look at this and watch it for the believability of Alec Murdaugh. Is he someone who's coming across as someone who's trying to spin a tale? Or is he someone who's in shock and grieving the death of his wife and his son? I mean, literally, keep this in mind. The gruesomeness of seeing your son's head blown off, which is literally what happened here. I'm not trying to be gross, but we've all, in recent weeks, have seen a lot of gruesome shit.
Yep.
And has disturbed a lot of us. Now imagine that being your kid in the dog kennel in your backyard. And this is his reaction just moments after seeing that. Let's watch.
And sir, what was your name?
It's Danny Henderson. Okay.
All right. As I stated, I'm David Owen in Lower Rutland with Colleton County, and I'm with SLED. I hate to have to do this.
I understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
So you don't have any problem with it.
So, just start at the top, take your time.
Like when I came back here, I pulled up and I could see him, and I knew something was bad. I ran out. I knew it was really bad. And boy over there, I could see it was.
I'm so sorry.
And I could see this, and I ran over to Maggie. Actually, I think I tried to turn Paul first. I tried to turn him over, and I don't know. I figured it out. And his cell phone popped out of his pocket. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly. Then I went to my wife, and I could see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both. I tried to take. I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them. And I called 911 pretty much right away. And She was very good. I talked to her. I told her I was going to get off the phone to call some family members. I did that.
What family members did you call him?
I called my brother Randy, and I called my brother John, and I tried to call a little boy, real good friend that's right around the corner from here, but I didn't get him.
What all was around Paul when he walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there were some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence. I know you said the phone fell out the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir, not good. No, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them? What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them and Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover. She fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house. I left the house and went to my mom's for just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her, no response. When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there. So I figured they're still up here fooling around. Paul was going to be getting set up to plant. Our sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called her.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
How old was Paul?
22.
Okay. You know his date of birth?
I do. April 11th, 96 is his brother's. April 14th, 99 is Paul.
And how about, what's Maggie's full name?
Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh.
And her date of birth, sir?
September 15th, 1968.
Have y'all been having any problems out here? Trespassers, people breaking in?
None that I know of. The only thing what comes to my mind is my son Paul was in a boat wreck a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been he was charged with being arrested for being the driver. There's been a lot of negative publicity about that. And there's been a lot of people online, just really vile stuff. But when Paul's out and about, I mean, people routinely, I don't think I know the full story. So I don't think they give it to me. But I mean, he's been punched and hit and just attacked a lot. So, but I mean, nothing like this.
Yeah. Any one person in particular or group of people?
I don't know.
That you could think of?
Not that I know, no, sir.
Has he, other than being assaulted, has he received any direct threats related to the boat accident?
Oh, yes. All the time.
Recently?
Yes. I mean, he gets them all the time.
Okay.
He gets them all the time.
What kind of,
I'm gonna kick your ass, I've never been privy firsthand,
Was that through social media or?
No, ma'am. It's mostly like if he goes out places is what he goes out like somewhere. He's in college, so if he goes out, is what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I can find out better details from some of his younger friends on that.
Who's his best friend?
His best friend in Colombia is Will's Chapman, Will Loving, Bobby Boyle. Bobby Boyle, Will Chapman, and Paul were getting ready to move into a house together in Colombia.
You said Will Chapman and Will Loving?
Will's with an S, Chapman, and Will with an L, Loving. Around here, his best friends are clearly Nolan Tootin and Rogan Gibson.
Tootin? Nolan Tootin?
Yes, sir.
And what was the other one? I'm sorry.
Rogan Gibson.
Have you talked with any of these guys tonight?
Talked with Nolan, yes, sir.
Is he out here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I tried to call Rogan, was one of the people he's the boy that I told you lives around the corner. That's there. You know, he's just a good, helpful young man. Do you mind if I open the door?
Do what you need to do. So is there anybody that you can think of that we need to talk to tonight? Is there a name that comes to mind?
I mean, I can't tell you anybody that I'm overly suspicious of off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know? I mean, this is such a stupid thing. I'm even embarrassed to say it. But it just didn't make any sense. I just hired a guy out here, and he wasn't cutting the mustard, but I hadn't told him this yet. Paul's been working with him a lot. He killed the sunflower seeds in our dove field just recently, which is why Paul was here doing this. He told Paul a story the other day about how when he was in high school, he got in a fight with some black guys, and the FBI undercover team observed him fighting those guys and put him on an undercover team with 3 Navy SEALs, and that their job was to kill radical Black Panthers. And they did that from Myrtle Beach to Savannah. Now, I really don't think this guy, you know, is probably the person, but that's just so friggin'.
Yeah, that's kind of far-fetched story.
But he was off today.
Okay.
He took his daddy to the doctor.
What's his name?
C.B. Rowe.
R-O-W-E?
Yeah, and I sent him a message to text me earlier today about the sunflowers, and he called me back when I was on the way to my mom's house.
Did you talk to him at that time?
Briefly, I was on the phone with a lawyer friend of mine named Chris Wilson from Bamberg, so I told him I'd call him back tomorrow. See him in the morning.
When you briefly talked to Mr. Rowe, what was his demeanor or attitude? Or
I mean, it seemed normal. I mean, I asked him about the sunflowers, and so, you know, I mean, he's a little bit.
Where does he live?
I don't exactly know. Somewhere in in Bronson.
Okay. Do you have his phone number?
I do.
You got it with you or closer?
I do. You know, but I do think him and Paul got along pretty well. That's just really, really weird. All right. CB.
Right there. Lap.
Here, I know he called me, so I'll do it down.
843-540-9335. You had to get that phone a little charge every time you can.
Is that an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
Why'd you let me proceed to this?
Thank you.
When did you tell that story to call?
Sometime last week.
Okay.
Sometime last week. My son Paul actually, and I really do not think, in all honesty, that it's him, but I know y'all got to check it out. But Paul was so taken aback by it that he sent I'll find it. I got it on my phone. He recorded him saying bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
But for all his weirdness, I mean, I do think they got along pretty good.
And how long had he been working here?
I guess about 3 or 4 pay periods. So 8 weeks, a couple of works.
Okay. Going back to the boat incident, anybody on that boat really have a hard-on for Paul that you would think would come after him, or know of any direct threats from people on the boats?
I don't know of any direct threats between any of the people on the boat specifically, but I do think there's been a small amount of yip-yap between a couple of them, but not recently.
Okay.
You don't want that yip-yap.
Most of this was stuff from people that Paul didn't really...
So this is post seeing dead people, dead family members.
This is moments after seeing dead people, like within the hour or so.
Contrast that to what we watched yesterday with Wendy.
Mm-hmm. Wendy didn't see any dead people.
No, correct. So what a stark difference. I mean, she sounded like she had a cold because she was so stuffed up. You know, she had that nasally sound to her because she had been crying so hard. This man literally saw his family slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just talking like, yeah, blah, 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 da, da, da. No big deal.
Supposedly he was still on his painkillers because he was addicted to those.
Okay.
Which certainly could cause personality disruptions. But there is a level of
the effects that much.
There's a level of calm to this that
I feel like he, in his mind, is thinking of the best way to spin stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like all those, that calmness is him taking the time to process whether or not he did it, what he saw, and who might be involved and how this was going to turn out for him and the police questions. I mean, I just see him sitting there spinning his wheels, coming up with answers.
Was it planned though?
And thinking 20 steps ahead.
But if you're gonna do something like this, you would think. I mean, you would think. Doesn't mean he did, but you would think you'd have a plan for this alibi, the story, what you're going to tell people, and you're not going to be making it up in the police cruiser an hour after you did it, unless you did it like in the heat of the moment. It's a weird thing to do in the heat of the moment, to grab 2 different guns and shoot your family members in 2 different locations. That's a weird part to all of this. The guns are now missing. Was this really him just kind of spinning out of control? I mean, he knew a lot of the financial stuff was about to come to light. He knew things were going to shit with the boating case, and Buster was likely going to face jail time and serious other repercussions for his actions there. I mean, we look at this, and Creighton Waters, the prosecuting attorney, he called it family annihilation, a family annihilator, where someone can't deal basically with the onslaught of shame that is about to come your way from the people that you care about most because of your own actions. And rather than deal with those emotions, deal with the shame, deal with the repercussions, your wife may be leaving you, your kids may be saying, screw you, Dad, whatever. The way to eliminate feeling that shame would be to eliminate those people. Then suddenly people have sympathy for you. Then you get the empathy. You get everybody, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Your family was killed. This is horrible. Oh my gosh. As opposed to what the other next step would have been had reality just played itself out with anybody being murdered, which would have been Alec Murdaugh facing the wrath for all of his financial crimes and his son facing that. And really just a huge blight of shame on the family name of Alec Murdaugh and the Murdaugh legacy, which he was kind of not the black sheep, but he was kind of one of the weakest links of one of the individuals that seemed to have the propensity to screw up the name with his own stupidity and actions.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know. I saw an interesting comment that, forgive me, I forget who said it, but something about the financial crimes is what he's most likely guilty of. But I think you're right, Tony. This guy knew something else was coming down. He may not have pulled the trigger, but he was aware. This is a man who had his finger on the pulse of everything in this town. Don't tell me he didn't know this.
But then it goes back to the question, though, like Todd says, though, where he's like trying to figure out the story. If you already have your story, you'd think he would have it. Or was this a plan to play stupid? And I have no idea who. Maybe that was part of the drugged up plan in his mind of like, oh, that'll be perfect. They'll buy that. And the drugs say, yeah, of course, that'll be great. It's like when you're drinking or something like, this is a great idea. And the next day you're like, what the fuck was that?
And that's just it. If he was on the drugs, maybe he planned this when he was a little more coherent, but then the drugs kick in and he's like, okay, I think I remember this. I don't know. I got to work on this. Did I remember that? Did that happen? What happened? He doesn't know what the hell's going on.
That's why it makes me wonder. I mean, and that's what makes it all just more elusive of what did he know? When did he know it? Obviously that if it weren't for the video, the kennel video, which is a video that places him there pretty much at the time of the murders, I don't think they would have a conviction on him. But the kennel video, it puts him there. It does. It could, but he could easily have left. He could have easily gotten that golf cart and got the hell out of there. Right after that. There's a lot of question. I think on whether he actually killed the family. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because this doesn't read to me as a man who's being completely forthcoming. It's hard to digest somebody being this calm in the face of what he just witnessed. And look, he just may have a completely different threshold of how he emotes after seeing very traumatic things. He may just be completely numb to it. He clearly doesn't have a lot of empathy to begin with, judging by the way he was able to act in the face of those financial crimes. So emotion and empathy is not something that just comes and goes. It's not like, well, I'll have empathy over here, but I won't have it over there. It's either there or it's not. And if you're going to have it, and you'll see this a lot of times in narcissistic families, if there's empathy for anyone, it's going to be for the family members themselves. But it's more so, how is that family member going to benefit me that I'll have empathy, which is really just more so wanting to control that family member to benefit themselves. But it will look more like empathy. This just looks insane. It looks cold, callous. Why would you, at the end of the day, what was the purpose of this other than to preserve, if he got away with it, his dignity in his mind? Was that the end goal here? Is just his dignity, and he would get all this attention and all of this empathy for your family was just murdered and you're already going through that? Was that the goal at the end of the day? Because that's the only thing that makes a lot of sense.
So he strikes me as the kind of guy who is going to want to control the narrative right out of the gate.
Yes.
And I know somebody very much like that. Yeah. Like, I don't care what the story is. Here's what I want people to hear about. Yeah. And it's like, oh, fuck that. You're going to hear the truth, people.
Well, that's how narcissists function. That's how they work.
So my thing is that in recent times, right before this happened, all the money situations were coming out. The family stuff was all coming out. I wonder if he started to question how much control he had over the narrative and started freaking out. I mean, you look at Donna Adelson, up until the point where the judge said guilty, she actually thought she still had control over that, over the jury, and the narrative. Yeah. I'm just wondering if he started seeing things crumble away, and now he was trying to work harder to try and cover up what was kind of coming out here. He just seems like he's thinking.
And working harder meant killing his family because that put him in control.
Interesting.
I mean, it would put him in control of that narrative. I mean, it would mean attempt to put him in control of that narrative. Clearly, it didn't work out, but it did allow. I mean, he didn't get arrested right away. I mean, it took a bit of time to arrest Alec Murdaugh. It wasn't, right after they're sitting in this cruiser, he's going to jail. He's free for quite a while after this. And the investigation, frankly, sucked. I mean, it was not very very detailed. There was no immediate sealing of the scene, and we can see this other police video where they pull up and Alec Murdaugh's wandering around the property, and then you have all these first responders showing up. Obviously, they're dead, but then you have all these other officers, these SLED officers, wandering around, contaminating the scene. There's foot traffic everywhere. So good luck trying to find any sort of footprints.
Yeah.
Of anyone else. There's no protective gear going on early on. They're not printing things. I mean, there was just so many things that didn't make sense. And again, and I feel like in this case, in that element of this case, incompetency can very often masquerade as conspiracy. Where are you doing this to protect him? Are you doing this? No, I mean, I think it might be more that these officers didn't have a lot of reps and things like this. And they knew Alec Murdaugh, and he was, this figure in town and this family, and he couldn't have possibly done it. So we're not even going to think that right away. We're just here to take care of this. But at the end of the day, if you want to figure out who the hell did this, if you're not immediately assuming it's Alec Murdaugh, you'd want to preserve that scene. But again, if you don't have reps in that and you don't realize the repercussions to which you are having on that crime scene until after, you should know. But if you weren't trained that way and you haven't experienced it, you don't have the reps, you're going to go along with the rest of the group. And that, I think, is a lot of what took place on the Moselle property that night.
I'm sad that it was handled so poorly in the investigation part. It's sad that there may be jury tampering and all that kind of stuff, because you would think that. And again, that's where my question comes up about whether or not he really did it. That he probably was involved, but did he pull the trigger? You wish it was a cleaner story. You wish it made sense from start to end, but it just doesn't.
And so many cases don't. Sometimes simple is the answer, and sometimes simple is not at all the answer. And this is not a simple, I don't think. Why two guns? Why? I mean, a lot of it just does not add up. Let's watch a little bit more of the police interrogation here. And then after that, we're going to go. Eric Faddis is going to be joining us. I'm going to go sneeze and blow my nose because my allergies are horrible. Eric Faddis is going to be joining us. We're going to take up Donna Adelson, and we're going to talk about the appeal. We're going to talk about the future for Wendy. That's coming up. But let's watch a little bit more of this before we get into that.
Actually, no.
Okay.
It was some people that he knew distantly, but more times than not, when I learned about it, it was somebody that he didn't know.
Okay.
It's like, for example, he went out in Charleston a couple months ago, came back, he got a black eye. And, he can't defend himself right now because he has these charges. So, he would pose a real tough man's man.
Mm-hmm.
He
would defend himself, but he hadn't been.
That's right. But
how was he handling that case? Letting over everybody.
As far as what?
How was he handling it?
I've never been prouder of him than the way he has handled the pressures and the adversity in that situation. I think I've told Danny that before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Paul is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kid. He can do almost anything. He gets along with almost anybody.
Do y'all store any weapons out here?
We don't store them, but they're frequently out here.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find out if there were any out here because I know there was a shotgun. There was a 12-gauge shotgun out here. I'll have to find out exactly when that was. I think it got put up, but I'm not positive.
What did that shotgun look like?
It was a camouflage. I want to say it was a Benelli or maybe a Beretta. I can't remember which brand it is, but I don't think it was out here.
Okay.
Recently. But I'm not positive.
And the shotgun that you had when deputies pulled up, where did that come from?
I went to the house and I got a gun. Probably overreacting, but...
And was that when you pulled up and saw them?
No, I came out and I called 911 first.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to them for a little while, and then I told her.
Told her?
That I was going to go to the house.
Okay.
And that I would let authorities know when they got here that I had a gun.
Okay. Do you happen to have a list of all your guns?
I can make one. I don't have one, but I can make one.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, so we could compare if that shotgun was out here and now it's missing.
Absolutely.
Try to figure that out.
I know, absolutely.
And I know living out here in the country, you probably have more than one or two.
We do. We probably have 20, 25 guns.
Yeah. Shotguns, rifles.
Pistols.
Any rifles?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of rifles?
All kinds.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you name it, across the board, we have them.
Okay.
And I mean, all of them we have are, in our hunting room in our house.
What was their schedule today? When did they get?
My son works for my brother, and he was coming home to deal with the sunflowers. He got here pretty early because he and I rode around looking at everything for a good little while, probably 45 minutes to an hour. Maggie had things she did in Charleston, and she had a doctor's appointment in Charleston, and she got back here. It was fairly late.
Was it dark yet when Paul got home?
No, Paul got home early.
Early, okay. So before dinner time? Before
Oh, yes, ma'am.
lunchtime? Or
No, ma'am.
What brother does Paul work for?
John Marvin.
And what does Paul do for him?
Everything.
That's cool. Handyman. Yes, sir.
was it unusual for Maggie to feed the dogs this time of night or check on them?
Oh, no. I mean, she played with those dogs all the time. And it's especially common for her to, she's been gone for a while, to come and let especially two of them out to run.
Okay, so she pretty regularly comes out here in the evenings?
Very regularly.
Okay.
She comes out here a lot.
You have any cameras on your property?
I have deer cameras, but none, around up here.
Where are they at?
On different deer stands.
Okay, so deep in the woods.
Well, not necessarily deep in the woods. Some of them are in fields and.
Okay.
But there's none that, are near here.
Okay.
What doctor did Maggie see today?
I forget the guy's name. Maggie's been having trouble with her. She's been having trouble with her stomach and her tooth. I'm not positive. It was sort of a routine visit, and I can't remember. She told me the name of it, and I can't. I want to say Gordine. It is who I think she saw.
So was she back home around supper time? Or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
I don't think she got back quite that early. I think she got back a little bit later than that.
Okay. And what did you do today? Were you at the office or?
Nope, I was home. I came home. Paul and I messed around. I was up at the house, laid down to the nap on the couch, probably, 25, 30 minutes. I got up, I called Maggie, didn't get an answer. And I left to go to my mom's. She had said she might ride with me, but she normally doesn't when I go over there. And I think I texted her, and she's very good about answering the phone, so that was odd, or calling me back. So that was odd, but it wasn't that big a deal.
What time was that?
What time was what?
That you sent her a text message.
I texted her at 9:08, going to check on M, be right back. And then I texted her at 9:47. That must be when I started to come back. I think I called her before that. But let me make sure.
That's some of the police interrogation of Alec Murdaugh right as moments after the murder of his wife. and son. We're going to talk about Donna Adelson in a moment, but while we're on the closing of that, Eric Faddish joining us, defense attorney, former prosecutor. Let's just talk about that for just a second while we're on it. Obviously, Alec Murdaugh, we're getting closer and closer with the appeal process. Another box has been checked, and we got to move it this way and that way. Where do you think this is going? Do you think that there is a good chance that Alec Murdaugh may get a retrial based on the issues, especially with Becky Hill?
Tony, anything's possible. Getting a retrial is a pretty high bar. It's hard to meet that. It rarely happens. However, here with that clerk of court issue, that does present something for the court to consider. There's allegations that Becky made statements that could have influenced that jury. And if so, we're talking about a murder case, and the court's going to take that seriously. So there is at least a prospect that there could be a new trial.
The fact that they've gotten this far with it, I mean, that we're getting, all the boxes are checked this far, and is it odd that an appeal has gone this far down the chain if it didn't have a chance of succeeding?
I think it's an indication as to the potential strength of the appeal. Oftentimes these things are almost summarily denied, and the defendant might have like a habeas corpus Hail Mary at some point down the road. But here, courts have seriously considered what Murdaugh is alleging. And, he's an attorney. He, at least for a period of time, had a very elite legal team. And so it's, I think, moving in the direction that Murdaugh might want in terms of the likelihood of a new trial.
Would be very interesting to see if that does happen. We'll, of course, keep following it. Let's move on to Donna Adelson and Wendy. Donna, of course, just convicted of murder, conspiracy, and solicitation of the charges in the Dan Markel case. Almost immediately, her defense team moved for a new trial. This is common. This is normal. You get found guilty, you're going to try and appeal it. Raising claims. Now we're learning of juror misconduct, bias from the judge, and arguments that the evidence itself wasn't strong enough. And they're big, bold allegations on paper, the kind that can sound dramatic if read dramatically to the public. But are they truly game-changing, or just the standard playbook of a convicted defendant? Eric, that's what I want to ask you about. As both a defense attorney and former prosecutor, I want your first reaction here. When you saw the grounds laid out for the appeal, what went through your mind initially?
Sure. So as you mentioned, Tony, an appeal, especially in a murder case, is almost automatic. You're going to see it no matter what. When we look at the grounds, sufficiency of evidence, that is usually a very weak ground. Courts almost never overturn cases on that ground. They respect the jury's determination. When it comes to bias of the judge, that can go both ways. The one that stands out a little bit is juror misconduct, as courts have sort of been trending towards giving significant weight to those arguments, so long as the defense can meet the requirements they need to meet. That part is still an open question.
I want to ask you this about juror misconduct, just from an attorney standpoint, in a defense attorney standpoint. Are we seeing more allegations of juror misconduct today than we would have 5, 10 years ago?
I think absolutely, Tony. And this case, the Adelson case, is sort of illustrative on that. What I mean is in their appeal, Adelson cites to social media posts in part from these jurors and also a social media or podcast that one of the jurors did. Those things wouldn't be available 10, 20, 50 years ago. The defense attorney wouldn't even be aware of those things. But now they are combing through sort of the digital footprint of everybody involved, and they've happened upon these grounds that they think are meritorious.
Is that, that's what I was kind of wondering about and kind of getting to is it because of social media? Is social media wreaking havoc with our justice system now because of all these sort of things?
It's certainly a part of the evolution of our justice system. There is just so much more publicly accessible information that wasn't publicly accessible in the past. And so defense attorneys are jumping on that. They're doing investigative measures that they wouldn't have been able to do 20, 50 years ago. and they're finding little tidbits that they think are problematic and grounds for an appeal. So yeah, it certainly transformed the way that trials are looked at and the way that appeals are handled.
So Eric, can we go back for just a second for those of us who are listening and wondering, maybe we've never been in a courtroom, maybe we've never been part of a jury, and you don't have to go into great detail, but can you tell us a summary of what a judge says to the jury about what they do when they go home? You're not supposed to watch the news, you're not supposed to talk to other people, but in regard to social media, what are the instructions typically?
Typically, Stacey, they are something to the effect of, hey, jurors, you can only base your determination on what is said in court. There are usually also restrictions on the jurors being able to talk about their jury service during the trial. Now, after the trial, that changes a little bit. Oftentimes, jurors are nearly all of the time, jurors are free to discuss their service if they want, but they don't have to. But during that trial, the judge is very clear that the jury is not supposed to be posting on social media about the case and shouldn't be discussing what's going on in the courtroom when they are outside of that courtroom.
It's really hard in today's world. I mean, people are glued to their devices. They're glued. It's not just sitting in the barber's chair talking to the guy next to you. It's people are in Messenger. I mean, there's all kinds of things, especially if somebody knows you're on this jury. I can't imagine the pressure to say something.
Sure. Yeah. People now with the advent of social media are documenting their lives. They're giving the world a glimpse into their day to day. And if you are on a nationally publicized murder trial as a juror, you're probably going to want to. Some folks might feel inclined to want to share that. And like you said, it's not sharing it with your doctor or the barber or something. It's sharing it with the world. And so that really changes the game.
Is that stupidity, or is that people having literally no self-control?
No.
I mean, it to me, it doesn't seem like a huge, crazy ask to say, put down the phone, maybe stay off social media while we're doing this, children. It's not that hard. It's not like, oh, I can't control whole picking up this phone.
Yeah, but wait a second, Tony. We have an entire generation of people that they don't read anymore. They watch videos. And now you're asking them for 2 to 4 weeks to keep your freaking mouth shut.
Yes, if you'd like to participate in our society, that's what you need to do.
It's
tough shit.
So easy to say it.
I just think that's how it should be. I'm sick of like all the like, well, it's going to be real difficult for, Skippy to do that. It's like tough shit. Grow the fuck up. It is. I mean, I don't care if yes, you may be inconvenienced in your life. You may feel uncomfortable that you can't see what Susan had for lunch and what her political leanings are this afternoon.
Get off my lawn.
Who fucking cares? Like, go touch some grass. I mean, it's not crazy to say you can't use social media, and if you're gonna it's not crazy to say it. I guess we're finding it's crazy to expect people to exercise the self-control that's requested of them specifically, and then for them to not screw it up. I think that's the bigger problem. With this case, juror number 7 is the one that's being questioned about the TikTok post, and we'll talk about the other juror too. This one is the one that's going on, allegedly posting on TikTok during the actual trial, identifying herself as the foreperson. The post has since been deleted, but defense wants to interview her. The allegation is the post said nothing more than that, is that I'm on this trial, I'm the foreperson. Not leaving anything else out there. But again, why? What self-righteous bullshit is going through this juror's mind that I must let the world know this? Because of course you're going to get comments from your friends and your family about this. And of course they're going to weigh in. And they have every right to. They weren't told by the judge to shut the F up. You were told to, and now you're inviting them to come to you to tell you what you think and to tell everybody what they think, so you can all and it's exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Eric, do you think Tony's got some feelings on this?
So it sounds like there are some heated positions on this across the board, and that one concern, what Tony said, the fact that you make this post and people might weigh in on it. People might comment, they might message you. And I think the concern from the defense's side is that what was that feedback? What messages did she get? Did someone reply and say, hey, did you hear about all this stuff from Donna Adelson's past, before the trial, like in the 2000s and stuff like that? Which would be information the jury could not consider. So I think that's what the defense is sort of hedging towards, is what were the reactions to this post, and was that foreperson influenced at all by those reactions? If so, could be a problem.
Is this just an uphill battle that is this something where the courts need to just readjust, and we as a culture need to readjust our expectations of juries and trials? Is it a bridge too far now to say you can't to expect people to not follow these rules, because they're not going to? I mean, I think if anybody thinks that jurors are truly not going home and watching the news and getting on social media and talking to their friends and family, and the next day when the judge says, did you do any of that? They're all saying, no, we didn't, sir. I mean, realistically, you're an attorney. Do you really think in most cases that those juries are not doing those things every single day when they go home?
Right.
It's a very fair question. I, of course, have concerns, especially on the defense side now, that could be going on, because the risk is that they receive information outside of the court process that they're not supposed to consider. But if that information's in your brain, that bell can't be unrung. And so it could influence how a juror sees this. In terms of expectations, I think it's perfectly reasonable to say, hey, you shouldn't post on social media. You shouldn't look up news articles about this. But people do. And there's always that concern, especially on the defense side.
So do we just sit there and say, don't do this, and if you do, then maybe we'll deal with it later, and maybe it'll be an appeal, maybe it'll be this, maybe it'll be that? Or do we have to just start sequestering every jury for every single trial that exists and taking the devices away because the children can't be trusted with their toys?
I'm not sure what the solution is, but I can confirm that there is a problem. Here's what I mean. So during the trials, there's no judge's order for the attorneys not to be looking at their phones and searching stuff, doing emails, whatever. Yeah. But I just had a homicide case against a very prominent elected DA, and I won't say his name, but during the trial, he's sitting back at his counsel table, just looking at his phone, scrolling across, heaven knows what he's doing. And so if the attorneys can't even refrain from that conduct during the trial as it's going on, can we reasonably expect a juror to not go home in the privacy of their own house and do that? I'm not sure.
Well, remember I forget the case. It was a judge who was on Facebook. She was scrolling through Facebook on the court computer. Tony, I forget which one it is.
I know you're talking about it during the actual trial itself.
Yeah, she's sitting there just screwing around on Facebook, and it was a security camera, I think, that picked it up, that somebody had looked at it and went, is she on Facebook? And she's the judge sitting there on her throne in her robe on Facebook during a trial.
Totally, Stacey, and I've had similar concerns with judges. Certainly not all of them, but some of them. I'm making an argument, or we're taking testimony and motions hearing. The judge is on their computer, and sometimes I might ask a question of the court or something like that, and it seems like the court was distracted with their own computer stuff. Perhaps they're researching case law. I don't know, but
yeah, maybe Wordle was really hard that day, and they're just like, I got to get this word in four guesses, Don't interrupt me.
It's a scary prospect.
I feel like we're discussing more of a societal problem than a court problem at the end of the day. If no one can exercise even the slightest bit of self-control because we're so addicted to getting that little dopamine hit from our devices, that we cannot function as that is trumping our role as a functioning member of our society.
We're all just a bunch of monkeys.
It goes beyond the court cases. I mean, it goes to everything. I mean, really. At the end of the day, there's also juror number 5 that the Donna Adelson and crematorium defense team wants to bring up. Did you see that, Eric? By the way,
did you see that?
Did you know that Tom Petty operates out of a crematorium? Not joking.
This case just keeps getting weirder, man.
Her office is at.
Why
a
am I not
crematorium.
surprised?
It's the young Fairfield crematory. And yep, there we go. Out of a house in a neighborhood.
Hey, you know what? You got to rent an office where you rent an office. I mean, it's all about availability. It reminds me of Johnny on Schitt's Creek operating out of the garage. You know, you do what you got to do, right?
Let me ask you this before we go into the juror number 5 question. What's the strangest place you've ever seen an attorney operate out of as their office?
I've received indications of attorneys operating out of like coffee shops and places like that, which, look, I get it. Remote practice is a big thing. That's cool, man. But,
I get that.
But you want to have some legitimacy behind what you're doing, and you want to project to the client that you are established.
Otherwise, it kind of feels like this almost feels worse than Better Call Saul. You know, like he was operating out of the back of a nail salon. This is this is Tom Petty operating out of the back of a crematory. And it makes me like, is there like deals here? Are there sales? Is that even legal as an attorney? Could you offer your client, let's say like you had part ownership here, because it appears maybe she does or some family member does. I don't know. Could you offer like, hey, you know, if you hire me as your attorney, we're going to give you half off your cremation, or half off when someone passes, when Harvey passes, you can get him toasted here. It's like Subway. Would you like him toasted? And that offer can be made. You know, is that legal? Can you bundle services?
It would vary by jurisdiction. In Colorado, where I practice, my recollection is that you can have sort of outside incentives so long as they don't compromise the integrity of the representation, they don't influence the representation. But this one would be a rather macabre bundling of services.
Yeah, I mean, thank God no attorney were operating out of the Return to Nature funeral home in your neighborhood.
I was going to say, that's right in your neighborhood there, Eric.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I've never been, but heard horror stories. Yeah.
Hey, weekend road trip. I'm telling you right there. You go over, pack a picnic in the parking lot. I think you and your lovely wife would have a great time. I think it'd be a lovely.
There's some
lovely weekend trip. Get on the list for Casa Bonita, and if you can't make it, go to the Return to Nature for lunch. Juror number 5's podcast comments. This was said on Surviving the Survivor podcast. Our friends over there. That they had noticed Adelson's facial expressions and reactions during the trial. Oh my, they noticed Donna reacting inappropriately, which the judge had to scold her for like 5 times. They claim that it wasn't a factor to them in the deliberations, but they certainly brought it up because everybody noticed it. Are we stretching here on the part of Tom Petty as Donna's attorney as this being a valid argument? Is there any argument to be made that a juror after the fact said that, I witnessed Donna, reacting very callously?
There could be something there, and shout out to Joel and Surviving the Survivor. I've been on it several times. Great podcast. Not as good as this one, but the concern is that the jury can only base their verdict on the evidence, right? So on testimony, exhibits, things like that. You better believe they're looking at the defendant. They're seeing how the defendant's reacting. And Donna Adelson was not sheepish about her outbursts in the case. Yeah. And so, I think it's possibly what's called invited error. Even if it was error, it's something that Donna invited because she is the source of the subject matter we're talking about, which are her reactions.
Yeah, I mean, was that part of her strategy? I mean, there was a lot of weird things with her. I mean, the amount of attorneys they went through, the amount of times they had to push this trial. I mean, all these sort of things that could have been avoided, but seemingly were invited in by their own choices to delay this trial. I'm wondering if during the trial that was part of the strategy, was Donna going over the top?
You know, as a defense attorney, there's a fine line between elucidating error and inviting error. If there's error that already exists and you choose to kind of highlight that for the appellate record, that's probably zealous advocacy. On the other hand, if you or your client is injecting error into the case, you can't later, whine to the appellate court that, hey, this was a problem at the trial. Well, the problem started with you, buddy.
Or can you? You could argue
you
it.
can,
but it doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. Or will it? I guess. I mean, it's like spinning the like stranger things happened. It just makes me wonder. The other claim here: judicial bias allegations. The claims that Judge Everett gave prosecution extra time for technology, while Fulford, got out the poster board that she got over at Hobby Lobby and put some clip art on it. They're saying that it denied Adelson more time to decide on testifying, tolerated gallery laughter and gestures, and showed obvious disdain towards defense. Thoughts on that?
The only one that jumps out as having potential merit is the disdain for defense, and unfortunately, that happens sometimes. I'm not saying it necessarily happened in this trial, but there are some judges, especially former prosecutors, who are up there who retain that mindset and sort of see things through their own prism of the prior prosecution experience, and sometimes are denigrating to defense. I don't think it rose to that level here, but that's what appellate courts look at, because the defense is entitled to an impartial jurist, an impartial judge who's not going to favor one side. I'm not sure that these grounds are really enough to get us over the appellate hump and get a new trial, but will all of these things together have a cumulative effect? Sometimes that happens.
Why do you think Donna chose an attorney operating out of a crematory?
Sorry.
Gosh, yeah, it's tough out there sometimes. Resources can be an issue. Donna apparently was wealthy at one point. I don't know what her resources were like during the trial, but and there's also, you got to get an attorney who wants to do it. You got, she may have interviewed a bunch of attorneys and they were like, this case is a loser. I can't help you. So sometimes you're limited by those factors as well. And perhaps she just had a really good rapport with this attorney. They bear a physical resemblance, and perhaps there was some warm and fuzzy feeling, and that can be a deciding factor.
I kind of feel like that might have leaned that way a little bit with the similarities, just with what we know about Donna's narcissism and such. It did seem like they could have been two peas in a pod on that case there. It was stunningly scary how alike they seemed to be. But she lost. Do you keep the same attorney going forward on your appellate issues here if you're Donna Adelson?
At least in Colorado, where I practice, almost never. I can't think of a time where I've seen trial counsel lose a case and then magically transform it to appellate counsel. It's a whole different type of practice. That there are different standards of law. There's different case law of which you need to be aware. It's a whole different animal. And so to have the trial counsel doing the appeal is unusual. On the other hand, trial counsel has good insight and firsthand knowledge of everything that happened in the trial, whereas a detached appellate counsel wouldn't have that. So, other upsides and downsides.
Well, it's like having an injured quarterback and you lost the previous game and let's put him in. It's fine if he limps. Who cares?
Yeah, it's kind of like, let's put him in as the kicker, let's put him in a different role. And I would never do it, but some attorneys might feel comfortable doing it.
Do you think this is a financial issue where, this is pure speculation, of what and why she's keeping Jackie on here? A finance issue?
It varies by jurisdiction. It could be, but at least in Colorado, when you are convicted and sentenced to prison, if you don't have finances, you would be appointed a public defender who would take a look at the possibility of appeal and would assert that for you if appropriate. So I imagine that principle is present in Florida, where this case went down, and even if she didn't have money, she'd probably be appointed an attorney to look at the appeals. So I'm not sure it's finances.
If you have the option and you're sitting there going, Tom Petty lookalike, appointed attorney from the state, which one do you pick? Which one do you pick?
Yeah, I'm going appointed attorney all the way because they're appellate specialists. Filing an appellate brief is hard as heck. Oftentimes, there's all these rules and procedural requirements, and to have trial, like I'm good, in front of a jury, but my skill set is not, compiling 40 cases that support my appeal and doing that. It's usually a division of labor that is divided between two attorneys, not one.
You think Donna's aware that she has this right, or do you think it's something where it's like her and Jack? I gotcha. You don't want those state people. We're good here. We're like, you want to use me. This is the. I wonder what the conversation is. Why Donna's still sticking there with it which I could see her sticking with her because I feel like there is some camaraderie there, and I know everyone is wrong there, and her seeing everybody looking at Jackie and going, They misunderstood you too. And oh my goodness, see, we were just trying to, they'll get it next time. I wonder if that's what's going on here.
Would not be surprised. Jennifer commented that Donna still wants the crematorium discount. And so maybe that's factoring.
I wonder if that's part of it. Like you got to use us till death. That's part of the contract. And then
I mean, you develop a rapport with your attorney. You go through this crucible, and it is traumatic for everybody. And so perhaps Donna just feels that rapport and that closeness with the attorney, and that can influence clients' decisions in terms of counsel.
Let's talk about Wendy Adelson a little bit. Obviously, nothing has happened. She's innocent until proven guilty. Not even that. She's never been charged with anything. So, but we're going to talk about her because there's a lot of questions. Is she next? We've seen the Adelsons get knocked over like dominoes for the last several years. And, well, I mean, her or Harvey seem like the next logical people if they had anything to do with this. And that is a big if. Georgia Kappelman making the comment the other day, when pressed, and I want to say that because there's a lot of people talking, she's came out and said, stay tuned. No, she was pressed. An attorney, or a reporter literally put the words in her mouth and said, would you stay tuned? I would say stay tuned. That's kind of how that conversation went. What do you think on that? What's your take on Georgia's response there?
Yeah, so I think the DA has to keep things open in terms of any possible culpable parties. I'm not accusing Wendy of anything. She hasn't been charged.
Sure.
But it certainly strikes me as odd that like her entire family would orchestrate this murder for hire plot on which they've two members have been convicted and the other helpers have been convicted. And Wendy, who's really at the center of this, was the one married to the victim. She had nothing to do with it and had no knowledge about it and didn't want it to happen. Think about that as a partner. Your entire family just kills your ex-spouse because they don't like them without talking to you about it, without seeing if hey, is this okay? Those things strike me as odd.
I mean, it is extremely odd. It's not to say that it couldn't happen, but I guess even odder would be, how do you not look guilty if your family did this and you had nothing to do with it? I think it'd be very hard because everybody is staring at you and the optics of every single move that you make. And they already had the preconceived notion because you're the one who benefited from this, that you had something to do with this, even if you didn't. I don't know how you enter or live in the public sphere in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just saying, just living your life without everybody looking at you going, yeah, we think you might have had something to do with it, no matter how you act.
Yeah, Tony, that's a really important point because let's look at it from that perspective. Let's say Wendy had nothing to do with this. And so what has happened is her family has taken these nefarious actions to kill the father of her children, with whom she wasn't getting along, clearly, but may not have wished death upon him, probably didn't wish for her children to not have a father for the rest of their lives. Her life has been turned upside down for the past decade. She has been in the public eye in a negative way for a decade. If she didn't do if she had no involvement in this, how terrible would that be for her? That'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, it very much would be. I think one of the most powerful pieces of testimony that we saw in Donna's case actually came from her ex-boyfriend, Jeff Lacase's, saying that Wendy told him her family had looked into all options, even mentioning hiring a hitman and estimating costs. He saw this as more than a joke, describing it as her tone as being serious, because she pulled him aside and said, "Hey, can I tell you something kind of in confidence here? This is what was discussed." So then we get back to, okay, if your family is literally telling you we've looked into all options. Charlie didn't say I hired a hitman. He said I looked into all options, according to Wendy. What sort of responsibility do you have as a human being, as a functioning member of society, when someone tells you we've looked into a hitman to kill your ex-husband? Do you stay silent? Do you turn that person in? Does anything happen if you turn that person in? Or, it's just talk at that moment in time anyway.
Gosh, there's certainly a distinction between a legal duty and a moral duty. In terms of a moral duty, I would think that a person would want to and feel compelled morally to take measures to prevent some unjustified and unlawful killing of someone, especially someone they know. On the legal side, receiving that information in and of itself probably does not trigger a legal duty to report it. There's no Good Samaritan law that provides an affirmative obligation on somebody possessing that knowledge to run to the cops and say, hey, I think there could be, or it's possible that there could be a murder for hire coming up. Could you guys stop this? I don't think there's a legal duty to do that.
It feels like there should be.
Yeah, isn't that see something? It feels like there should be. But I guess here's even the bigger question about all of that. Had Wendy said something, see something, say something,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody did start looking into Charlie, they probably could have found some information that probably would have led to stopping this before it actually took place, but she didn't say anything. But then you have to go and question, well, did she take him seriously? This is a question. This is a family that seems to be operating with a lot of hotheads on a lot of things. When you saw the extremes that Donna would let fly out of her mouth when it came to rage at Dan Markel while he was alive, of let's dress the grandkids up in Hitler Youth costumes and things like that. It seems there's not a lot that's off the table of what's going to come out of these people's mouths. Now, do I think that she was actually going to dress them up in Hitler Youth costumes? Well, after the trial, probably.
I was going to say.
But before, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I would have thought that. It's like it's somebody just spouting off a bunch of shit that has not the greatest emotional regulation, and they get their shit off their chest, and then they calm down, and it's back to somewhat sanity. So I could see it being, how do you know when your family's serious about the crazy shit that they say out loud?
Oh, totally. It's a very real question and potential problem, because if you go to the police with that kind of information, you could open up a tremendous can of worms, especially if you have the type of family member who, like you said, is a bit of a hothead. Sometimes they pop off, they say things they don't mean. We all know people like that. Do we want to subject them to local and potentially FBI surveillance and getting into their digital devices, looking at their entire private life? That's a hard judgment call to make. And it's hard to determine whether those folks are being serious or not. I did notice that one of the comments, I think, from Jennifer was that this is a very tight-knit family. And so to expect that Wendy had no knowledge of this going on is hard to believe.
I agree. If you were in the DA's chair right now, is there additional evidence that you'd want before taking the risk of charging Wendy Adelson?
Definitely. And here's what I would do. So during the trial, it came out from one of Wendy's boyfriends that Wendy was asking him questions that appeared to be setting him up to frame him. That was his impression.
Yeah.
Questions about where he was that day. My understanding is that a vehicle that was used was substantially similar to the vehicle he had. And so if I'm the DA, I'm interviewing that boyfriend. I'm getting all of the text messages and emails and anything else from Wendy, voicemails, talking about even verbal conversations to see if Wendy was possibly an accessory after the fact to try to conceal this and or mislead the government and obstruct the investigation by considering framing the boyfriend. I'm not sure that there's enough evidence there now, but there is other investigation that could be done.
Do you think that Georgia is sitting on a pile of evidence against Wendy that we just have not yet heard about?
It's possible, but with the amount of time that's gone by, gosh, I would expect them to kind of pull the trigger on that. No pun intended. But to make a call on it, because it's been like a decade or so, and like you said, we've seen all these other cards drop. I think now would be the time if they had it. But sometimes they really want to dot their I's and cross their T's, and that could be going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes. I mean, they waited a little bit for Donna, but Donna pushed their hand with going to try and flee the country. If we look back on it retrospectively, how much longer do you think it would have taken before they charged Donna had she not tried to run?
That's a alleged attempt to flee the jurisdiction and go to a non-extraditable country like Vietnam, which means if Donna had made it to Vietnam and they charged her, Vietnam is not sending her back. They would have to take other measures to try to procure her presence. And that consciousness of guilt, those nefarious actions, according to the government, I think really were sort of the candle on top of the cake there. But they still had the paper trail. They still had the bump, the conversations between Donna and the agent, conversations between Donna and Charlie. I think they had enough to go forward even without that. So I think it was probably imminent, and that's probably why Donna tried to skedaddle.
Is there any benefit to waiting to charge Wendy if that were going to happen? Is there any benefit to sitting and waiting versus filing charges today?
There can be. You're developing additional evidence. Like in the trial, there was additional evidence that came out that wasn't necessarily publicly available that implicated Wendy. And so you have that as sworn testimony from the boyfriend, sworn testimony from others. You're just building. You're building and building and building. And the more you build, sometimes the stronger the case is, sometimes not.
Okay. Interesting.
Who, let's, now obviously I should say again, Wendy's never been charged with anything. She's innocent. I'm not saying she has anything to do with this. All speculation here. But if let's say Wendy did have something to do with this, and I'm not saying she's the one who ordered it, because I don't think she was, but let's just say she has some sort of involvement. We don't know the level as to which, whether it was after the fact as an accessory, whether she did know before or didn't, but she had some sort of knowledge that is not coming out. Who should Wendy be more afraid of right now, the DA or Mom and Charlie behind bars, who may have some incentive to say some things about Wendy for some sort of preferential treatment or some sort of benefit on their side?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, there can be divisions within a family as these prosecutions and convictions are handed down. We look at Ghislaine Maxwell and her partner Epstein was dead at the time, but she had no qualms about laying out all the dirt, at least from her sort of colored perspective, about what happened against that person to try to gain a benefit for herself while she's sitting behind bars. Donna and Charlie have those same motivations, those same incentives, at least, and certainly might want to better their position by providing information. On top of that, I think Wendy, doesn't want any heat from the Latin kings who were the killers in this. So I think that she has a number of possible enemies all around.
What's the best move for Wendy right now? Because she's damned if she does, she's damned if she doesn't. If you have not been charged with anything, your family has literally imploded on itself. You're trying to live your life, your best life, as best you can after all this, and say you had nothing to do with any of this. Is there anything, anything that's stopping Wendy right now from getting the hell out of Dodge, changing her name, and starting over? Not because she's guilty, but just to escape the hellscape that her family has created for her. It would look extremely suspicious right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is.
Yeah, Tony, good points, because I think there are two ways that Wendy could go with this. One is, like you said, she could lay low, kind of disappear, change her name. Heck, some people even change their appearance, change their career, change her whole life, and move to a different locale where you're lesser known. The other route she could consider, if she wanted, is to blow this up, to write a book. To at least try to find some kind of silver lining to capitalize on the suffering to which she has been subjected for a decade. And especially with social media and alternative distribution, you don't need the same publishing house that all the books are published on anymore. She could go that route too, and that could be a source of vindication, assuming that she had nothing to do with this.
Would there be some risks involved there? If you're going to go and try and do this tell-all, even if you had nothing to do with it, wouldn't there be some risk involved of your words being misconstrued, or somebody saying, well, because you said this, it must mean that? And would that further open up the chances of being charged if you had nothing to do with it, just because you're going to go down that road of media and trying to share your story? I feel like that could be, I don't know, that could be a double-edged sword, although you'd have to really walk that tightrope carefully, I would think.
There are big risks with it, no question about it. We look at Hunter Biden, President Biden's son, and he wrote this sort of tell-all, and in it he talks openly about his drug issues. And the government saw that and said, whoa, you had these drug issues when you applied for a concealed carry permit and said you didn't have any drug issues. That's a federal crime, and a serious one. So there, risks abound if you go that route. It's a potentially high payoff monetarily and otherwise, but potentially high risk as well.
Gosh.
Yeah.
If she were your client and she came to you, and let's say she's innocent, let's say she has nothing to do with this, and you believe that she has nothing to do with this, Eric, I should have a wig, and I could play the role of Wendy. I'll get that. I'll get that prop next time.
Do you want me to get some Botox and eyebrow lift? Because I can do that for tomorrow.
Eric, I don't know what to do. Danny's gone. The kids are upset. What the fuck was their name for Danny? What was the horrible name they used? Jibbers. I just got to get away from all this Jibbers controversy. What do I do? What should I do? What do you say as the attorney?
At first I would say, that's scary. But then I would say, it's in her best legal interest to lay low. Even if there is some potential monetary payout with doing a tell-all book, her best legal interest, the most cautious approach would be to lay low and to try to move on and to have your family move on from this horrific set of circumstances that has befallen this family for years now.
We'll see if she takes any sort of advice like that. They seem to be kind of self-serving folks, but we'll find out. Well, not necessarily that the self-serving ever goes in their interests. They think they're lining up for all the great toppings at the yogurt bar. Then, oops, surprise! All the good stuff's gone. You're left with boba, motherfuckers. I don't know how I came up with that one, but I just did.
You've brought up the yogurt bar many times. Where are you going that you're getting a place that you can
Have I brought up yogurt bars before? Have I really?
No.
I didn't even realize that.
Is this a thing?
I don't particularly go to them very frequently. Harper asks.
This up on numerous occasions. Sorry, Eric, for the diversion, but
no, I wasn't sure if he'd been scorned by some yogurt bar.
Obviously, yes.
I need to know where this is because it sounds lovely.
It sounds like a bad TCBY incident now, doesn't it? TCBY, you mother.
Oh God, I missed that.
I'm kidding. We have one. We have a TCBY.
Oh, screw you. Really? Do you? Seriously?
Yes, we really, really do. Yes.
Was
And there's
it-
a seafood restaurant right next door where sometimes, if you're lucky on Thursdays, they add cod to the toppings of the frozen yogurt. So in case you want to get some of that triple chocolate, you can add crispy cod. It sounds strange. It's a lovely combination. I'm telling you, everybody.
I just remember I think it was like a white chocolate mousse at TCBY. Does that sound right?
I have no idea. I've
Just
been there like
off
once.
the charts amazing. I would give anything to have that in front of me right now.
With cod. Trout is Fridays, by the way.
Friday fish fry in Wisconsin, it's what we do.
Yeah, and it's great on yogurt. It really is.
You're a
Eric
sick
Faddis, as always, thank you so much for coming on to discuss the Adelsons and cod on yogurt.
We'll get
my
that
pleasure. I'm
on
gonna
any
go get
other podcast.
Yeah, go get yourself a cup. Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy. Thank you, Eric.
Yum. Looking forward.
All right. If you have a thought on any of the things we talked about today, let us know in the comments section on YouTube. Please do go there and leave us your thoughts, and be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts so you don't miss any of the coverage of the cases that we bring to you right here every single day on the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. All right. I think that's wrapping us up. Until next time, for Todd and Stacy and Eric, I'm Tony Brueski. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Brueski and the Hidden Killers podcast.